All right, all right. This is the Arrow Podcast crossover episode with the 49er Empire podcast show. And you guys already know what it is. We got Jamal with the 49er Empire, and we got your boy Michael Chaos with the Arrow Podcast. You guys know what it is with us. So how's it going, Jamal? How you doing over there, man?
Oh man, I'm doing all right. If you're speaking about Super Bowl, of course, I think is that what you was basically saying, right?
Do you think the Kansas City Chiefs are a dynasty or not?
Not quite yet. And
I think that was that was basically what you're saying, right?
I was gonna get to that, considering the last video we did, which you guys can go check out. Um, we spoke about if we were a dynasty after the Chiefs versus Eagles Super Bowl. And I believe, Jamal, you stated that we needed one more ring that we have now received. Okay, so I think we're a dynasty now.
I did. I did. And you guys did receive that. And you guys went through a hell of a road to get to where you had to go, being on the road. And I gotta give that to Mahomes, man. And that's for sure. You guys are definitely a dynasty.
By the way, that was actually a historical road. It was actually the first time in NFL history a team has faced the level of competition that it faced on offense and defense as far as rankings. Also, it was the first time they did it away, when, obviously the AFC championship was both away for the Chiefs. So yeah, kudos to Mahomes, Chiefs Kingdom. You guys know what it is. But we're not here to bolster. We're not here to, you know, uh rub it in anybody's face.
Hey,
Um,
life. That's life.
that is life. That is life. I did want to get into whether or not let's go to the 49ers side, right? Whether or not someone is to blame. Everyone wants to blame Kyle Shanahan, but if there is someone who, and if not, if it was just maybe because you guys ran into the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes.
Um, in my opinion, it's a few things as far as the players. Like I said, I don't really take much blame to the quarterback, but if we're gonna be in specific, I think it's the veterans. They definitely choked in this game. When it came to CMC, Trent Williams with the bad holding calls and the penalties, and this is the Super Bowl. This is the game where you're supposed to make history and really become a Hall of Famer. And then also too, we're gonna bring up Ray McLeod. Just those three guys, those three key plays is what I think really led to the disaster Super Bowl 58.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd agree. You obviously need your key players in key moments, right? Um, which we'll get into that a little bit later as far as Steve Wilks.
Yeah.
And so real quick, I have to say, and we'll go ahead and move on. I have to say Brock Purdy shocked me. I love Nick Wright to death. I think Nick Wright is a shadow of myself. But I will say that I have to agree to disagree on Brock Purdy, and I have to give Brock Purdy his props. For one, he shocked me, and I'm sure shocked the world. Now, my question to you is there a future is 49ers, and I mean the organization and Kyle Shanahan, do you believe that they are all in on Brock Purdy going forth?
Um, it's to me, it's undecided. I think a little bit of that storyline will be told by what they do in the draft. First round. If we look up and they're not taking any offensive linemen here, and he's still sticking to that same thought process of wanting to have, that type of mediocre line, then I think that says a lot about, what he feels about Brock Purdy. But Brock Purdy's going into his third year, and it's going to be a huge year for him. And to me, it's just truthfully undecided at this point.
I agree. The quarterback history there gets a
Yeah.
little shaky.
Hmm.
Um, I just had to throw that out there. That Brock Purdy shocked me. I was sitting there the entire game, like, come, make a mistake, man. Throw a freaking pick or
Right.
something.
Right. And can
And
I just want to go on record too and just say, like, I really do like Brock Purdy, and do I think he is the quarterback of the future? Oh, of course. But they have to really put the pieces around him on that offensive line to really get the best out of him. I believe so.
um, I agree. I agree. There were a few key plays where I believe there was a few blown coverage or not coverage, excuse me, blown protection calls or blown protection, whatever you want to call it, where Chris Jones kind of ran rapid. There was a few times
Hmm.
where, unfortunately for us, unfortunately for you guys, if that play is made, we are having a different discussion here. So yeah, I can see maybe a few guards or your offensive line maybe being one of the Achilles heel and
Hmm.
in key moments in that game, which there were as a team, I do feel like you guys lost. And I do believe both sides of the ball, or excuse me, both teams, including us, made
Hmm.
some big mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
So
But
yeah.
shame on the 49ers for a lot of those mistakes. I mean, you're playing not only the best quarterback on the planet, you're playing against a top defense. And, um, it's just,
Yeah.
I feel like they didn't capitalize on any mistakes, and just, don't want to gloss too much over it. But, it was just, they should have known that those are mistakes that you cannot make in this game. And every mistake that, um, that you would never want to make, they made it. you know,
Yeah.
the only
I-
thing except for Brock Purdy throwing an interception, right? That was it, right? He didn't throw an interception. So, you know, I mean, that the whole veteran squad just like, what happened,
shot the bed. No, I'm
man?
just playing. No. Hey, I can say the same. Now, I ain't gonna get into how I felt about that Pacheco
Oh,
fumble.
right, right, right. I know.
Uh,
I already know, and that's
I,
off the record how you feel about that.
yeah.
Right.
And those of you guys, if you go and watch my last video, you'll see my facial expressions on how I felt about that. So, all right. So I won't jump too much into that.
Mhm.
Now, and I agree. And I do. What I will say though is, I believe we made around the same. We made around the same amount of mistakes.
Oh
We both
yeah.
had two turnovers,
Uh-huh.
which kind of balanced everything out, man. I wouldn't necessarily say balance out because our fumble with Pacheco on the 10-yard line started you guys on your 10-yard line, right? Versus that muff punt starting us on
Right.
your
Right.
around your 20 to 10-yard line. So,
Right.
but two turnovers is two turnovers. So, we both made mistakes. But we'll go ahead and move on past that. Now, I will say, like I said, two turnover. If both teams having two turnovers, kind of
Mhm.
balancing everything out, kind of starting from square one.
Mhm.
Now, I do have to bring this up,
Okay.
and it, like I believe when we had first talked about it, you had said that you guys were thrown a bone. Well, we both were thrown a bone with this $30 million cap increase, which came at the perfect
And,
time, moment, and whatever you want to call it. How you
right.
feel about that cap increase, bro?
It gave me hope for the roster moving forward with Brandon Ayuk being able to fluctuate that cash, and
Hmm.
just being able to move in that right direction, and it just giving us a little bit more wiggle room. It was good to know because my whole thought process off after losing that Super Bowl watching the 49ers, is like, oh, this cast is over. You're gonna lose Kyle Juszczyk. You're gonna lose a lot of these guys that are beloved on your squad. You know,
Yeah.
basically KC just dismantled your squad. So I gotta give him I gotta give him the props there. But no, yeah, that was hard. That's the only thing that I thought of. But just the fact that that happened, it just gave me optimism. Like, okay, all right, you know what? We might be able to keep some of these guys and move forward.
Yeah, I guess we're in the same boat. Remember, we have to those of you that don't know the Chiefs, we have to re-sign Chris Jones and we have to re-sign L'Jarius Sneed.
Mm.
Now, are both of them going to get re-signed? This new $30 million cap increase, that just definitely increased the chances of that happening. I already kind of spoke on that in my last video, so I won't dive too deep into that.
Mhm.
But the cap increase is definitely a bone thrown in our direction as well as yours.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so that's gonna help us. I now back to the 49ers. I do
Okay.
agree. I do feel you guys. It's imperative you guys don't lose Brandon Ayuk.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Thank God.
your best route runner on your team in my eyes. The emergence of Jawan Jennings is important, but obviously you got to re-sign him too.
Mhm.
So that is interesting for you guys. Us, we're not as bad as you guys. You guys do have quite a few free agents. We we have a few. Once again, I'm going to do a different video on that. I won't dive too deep into that because I will have a free agency video coming out soon, and I'm sure you do too.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
we'll do that also on another crossover episode, everybody. Um, by the way, don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment, and also subscribe to the 49ers Empire podcast show. Don't forget, okay, guys, it will be linked in the description along with everything else, okay? So, but let's go ahead and move on past the set. Did you have anything you wanted to add to that cap increase?
No, no, it's a cap relief that for me. Yes. So, yeah. So,
Well, yeah,
yes.
yeah. That's a good one. Cap relief, for sure. Um, so we'll go ahead and move on. I guess you could say that we're both ecstatic on
Yes.
that
Yes.
cap relief, right? So
Mhm.
now I will say, speaking back in the beginning, when we spoke on Steve Wilks, which we
Right.
hadn't necessarily got into that.
Mhm.
I wanted to get your thoughts on him being fired. Now, real quick, I will add before I I I feel like he messed up in key moments. I
Mhm.
feel like he messed up in key moments,
Mhm.
in key on key plays.
Mhm.
And honestly, as far as an overall game, I do think he called it a very well overall game, but I do feel like that's why he lost his job. It's because of a
Right.
few key moments. How you feel
Right.
about that?
Yeah, and I think most of those plays happened in the third quarter, and like you said, I think we spoke off the record. Maybe OT too,
Mm-hmm.
just not being able to click. So I think it's very unfortunate because he's done a terrific job with holding teams to like at least under 17 points, I believe, or 17.5 points. I don't know what it really was, but I don't
Top
have the
five defense, I'm
yeah,
pretty sure.
so I think he was a defensive coordinator that was starting to figure it out, and
Yeah.
I think he would have been even better next year had they had retained him. But unfortunately for him, he's dealing with a very a franchise that wants it and they want it now, and people got to get the axe. So I don't agree with the firing 100%. I don't agree with it. I just want to be on record with that. I think they did the best they could, but again, just to go back to what I said, I think the veterans really lost that game.
Yeah. I agree, man. I agree. Now, well, and we'll go ahead and move on, fellas, because
Right.
I feel the same way. There's no argument in that. But we do have to get into this OT, this overtime ruling, I should say.
Right. Oh
Um,
yeah.
Now, there's a lot of complaints on your players, and I will add personally, of course, I don't like the complaints. I do feel like it's baloney juice. I do feel if you're making millions of dollars, you should know every rule.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's very complex. I'm not saying know exactly what hand you can and can't hold with, or you know what I'm saying. So, but you should know if they just change the overtime rules. That's something you should know at least go through. Now, whether they were unprepared, whatever the case is, I do think that's an excuse. I wasn't too happy about that. Now, how do you feel about them? How do you feel about Kyle Shanahan receiving instead of deferring, which is a big issue about?
I don't. As we spoke on off the record, before we did the show,
Mhm.
I don't feel like he really made a mistake there. Now, if you want to blame him,
I
you have to
agree.
blame him for not informing them of the rules. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
but see, I'm gonna tell you this: the thing about Kyle Shanahan, when did we have an overtime game all season? When did we have an overtime game? And I'm not trying to stick up for him, but I'm just saying,
right.
it's he and I said that off the record too. Like, I think he was just very unprepared for
I'm
overtime
prepared for
for the
overtime.
overtime.
Yeah.
Yeah, just very unprepared. Like, that game shouldn't have went to overtime, and it got there, and that was, you're playing against the best team in the world. And like I said, if you would have told me, if I was in a coma and you told me, dang, you know what? The 49ers went to overtime with the Chiefs, and you're like, who won that game? I'd be like, oh yeah, the Chiefs won that game. 100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
A 100%. 100%. They had no shot when that game went to overtime. But the excuses, yeah, they shouldn't be making excuses.
By the way,
Absolutely.
and real quick, guys, don't forget, like, comment, subscribe. I will say it 1,000 times. This is the Arrow Podcast, and I am with Jamal with the 49er Empire Podcast. So you guys already know. Now we will continue. Uh, I now I'm a little torn. Now I can't. Okay, first off, let me start with I ain't blaming Kyle Shanahan. I do believe Kyle Shanahan was met with a particular situation,
Hmm.
and that is his defense had just gotten off the field. I mean, let me remind you, it was a long drive, right?
Right.
We had gotten 3 points.
Uh,
He had just gotten off the field.
mhm.
So are you going to put your defense right back on the field? Yeah, you're receiving, so you have the pressure of scoring a
Mhm.
touchdown, right? And then that gives the other team, the option of, well, okay, well, we can go for it on fourth down or whatever the case is, right? But me personally, obviously, I'm not an NFL coach, but I'm not going to put my defense back on the field after you know, a long drive that ends in a field goal. I'm not
Right.
putting my defense back on the field. So, like you said, I'm not blaming. I personally wouldn't be blaming Kyle Shanahan, and I do think, in my eyes, he made the right call. That's why he's an NFL coach, and most of the people talking about him making the wrong decision aren't coaches. So,
Exactly.
um, yeah. So that's pretty much how I feel about that.
Mhm.
Now I will say, and we can go ahead and move on. Now, I'm interested on what you now. Maybe necessarily or excuse me, maybe not necessarily the future of Mahomes, because I'm pretty sure we all know the future of Patrick Mahomes, right?
Mhm.
Um, I want to get like, how first off, let's start here. Do you think that do you think we have what it takes to three-peat? And I know that's a deep question, but I guess I'll start with how I feel about it. And I mean, and this is an unbiased. I mean, obviously, I'm a Chiefs guy, whatever the case is.
Right.
Um, I do think, and only because of how right after they won the Super Bowl,
Mhm.
how that's all he was talking about, man. I do think he is the most focused person in the NFL right now. And
Mhm.
I do think that a three-peat for the first time in NFL history is on its way. What do you feel about that? How you feel about that?
Well, I was at this crossroads not too long ago.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so um
That's right.
given the information that I have learned, oh hell yeah. I mean, excuse me, it's really possible at this point. Now, I think that for the Chiefs, it's gonna boil down to who they pick up in free agency, and do they just go all in on a receiver and just really take that offense back to 2020, right? You know,
Man.
and you'll get a third one. You know what I'm saying? Because it's that's what he's missing, and it's time to kind of give him back some of his weapons a little bit. So yeah, I think it's definitely possible. I am not gonna be on record again saying what I said last time. You know what I'm saying? So no, yeah, they can definitely repeat.
And before we go, guys, you know, I will say the main reason why we're doing this is because the Chiefs and 49ers, if you're part of Chiefs Kingdom, you would know this. If you're a 49ers fan, then you would know this.
Mhm.
We have a lot of history between
Oh,
each other. We got our best quarterback until Patrick Mahomes from the 49ers. We got one of our best corners from the 49ers. So there's a lot of history there. That is one of the main reasons why we are doing this crossover episode. But before we go, I do have to say that during that entire game,
mhm.
I was sweating bollocks.
Oh
My
man.
cheeks were clenched and I almost needed a new TV. So
There's
so it's not like that was a walk in the park now. And when I do say three-peat, obviously we would have to win the Super Bowl again. But I will remind everybody that I do believe the 49ers will be right back there. Will be right back. And honestly, I will say that now. I will say that now. You guys have 11 picks. Last
right.
time we had that many draft picks, we became who we are right now. So if Kyle Shanahan does this correctly,
Mm-hmm.
this you guys just like us will
Yeah.
actually be better
Yeah.
than you were previously. So interesting there.
Yeah, I mean, definitely also too, it'll extend that window a little bit because right now it's closing and
Yeah.
it's closing, so they could definitely use it.
Yeah. Well, guys, by the way, we will be doing these crossovers every other week. So every other episode, we will be doing the Chiefs and the 49er crossover with the 49er Empire podcast. Okay, don't forget it. You already know what it is with
Right.
us. You know the spiel by now. Help us, help
Still,
you, help me, help you, help him, help you. Right? So, that's all we got for you guys today though. Don't forget once again, like I said before, subscribe, like, comment, and you guys already know what it is with me, the Arrow podcast and the 49er Empire podcast. We out of here.
We running out of time. 1-5, catch me in the end.